And good afternoon, everybody. Jim Miller and the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. David Kaplan. Cap, it's a week away from Derby just about. How you doing, buddy? You ready for
I'm good,
this?
man. I'm just a squirrel in your world and just ready to rock and roll.
I love it, Cap, and
How
I'll
are
tell
you
you,
doing?
we're getting ready to the draw for the race. We're getting ready to what's going to happen for the Derby. We talked last week about the points leaderboard, and Cap, this week we've had some shifts in the points leaderboard. So I want to take a look at that first because you look at the points leaders. Okay, 1 through 10 stayed the same, Cap. 11's the new shooter, which we'll talk about in a second. Everything changed last week, Cap, in the matter of about 8 hours. Morello dropped out of the race. That brought Pioneer of Medina into the race at number 20. Then about 5 hours later, the connections of Classic Causeway say, we want to run now. So we're back in the race. Pioneer Medina's back out of the race, Cap. So I have a couple questions for you here, Cap. All right. Two things.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, you've been a horse owner, my friend.
Yep.
Okay? So you've dealt with this in the past. So you think about trying to get into the race, the anticipation about trying to get into a race day, trying to get into your race, all of that excitement. Okay. This is the Kentucky Derby we're talking about, Cap. Classic Causeway was off the Derby trail, I think, because the trainer thought we're not good enough. We were horrible. We were dead last in the Florida Derby. You're a horse owner, Cap, all right? I'm putting you in the shoes of the horse owners here. You got 66 points. You can make the walk over from the backside to Churchill into the paddock, have your horse on the track for Kentucky Derby Day. You may run dead last again, but you could be in the race. Do you think the owners trumped the trainer here with Classic Causeway, and that's why the horse is back in the race?
I do. I think the owner said, you know what? You only live once. We've got the money.
Yeah.
We've got the cash. Like, I've got a little bit here, some 20s and a few singles.
Oh, boy.
They've got like stacks of hundreds. And they're like, you know what? Screw this. We may never get this close again to the thrill of walking out on Derby Day going, that's our horse. That's
I'm
what
with you. I think you're right. This is a horse. It's a homebred, bred by the owners. It's Kentucky West Racing LLC and Clark Cooper are the breeders of this horse. Brian Lynch is a trainer. Brian Lynch is a very good trainer, Cap. Now, when you talk about Classic Causeway, okay, this was a horse. Great race in the Sam F. Davis. Great race in the Tampa Bay Derby. I thought it was a mistake to even run in the Florida Derby because you could have seen what happened to the horse. Classic Causeway is a horse that needs to be out front, wants to be out front. This horse got out front briefly in the Florida Derby. The second this horse was headed, day over. Folding up, I give up, lose by 20 lengths. But you're bred to run all day, and you're in a Kentucky Derby, Cap, that has absolutely no pace in this race. Off that last race and everything, I couldn't give this horse a shot in the Kentucky Derby, but man, you have to consider it off those races 2 and 3 back, wouldn't you?
You would have to consider it. But when you look at this, feel like when Justify came in, we went, that horse is going to win.
Yeah.
What was the name of the horse? God.
Look at American Pharaoh. I mean, you knew that horse.
But who was the other one that won the first 2 races? Not
probably California Chrome.
Not California Chrome. Had the really colorful trainer who was very boastful, and they lost the Belmont. They won the first 2.
Are you talking about Smarty Jones?
Nope. Big Brown or
there was Funny Side.
Nope.
There's Smarty Jones.
Nope.
You're talking about Big Brown. You're talking about?
Was that the name of the horse?
It could be.
Their trainer was very boastful. It was like you knew that horse was probably going to win the Derby. I'm telling you, there's 7 horses I'm looking at going, things break right. That horse could win.
I'm with you. All right. Right now, your favorite, if you're looking at betting sites, Cap, is Epicenter at 5-1. Okay. So you're talking, if the favorite were to win the Kentucky Derby right now, it's a $12 return. All right. I'm looking up and down this field. Okay. I look at page number 1 here. Now, I've told you Tiz the Bomb would not be on my tickets. That's not saying the horse can't win because the horse could very easily win. Classic Causeway will not be on my tickets. But again, I wouldn't be shocked. There's not a single horse in these first 12 on the screen right here that would surprise me if they won. You get to screen number 2. Okay. Yeah. Early voting wouldn't surprise me because it's speed. Messier wouldn't surprise me because it's speed. Zozos, maybe. Unoho is the one horse I could say I can't make a case for.
Agreed.
Could not make a case for it. Somewhere's Tomorrow even, Cap. This was a horse that was leading the UAE Derby with a 16th of a mile to go. Maybe. But this is a really tough race, Cap. This is a race where you could have favorite, second choice, third choice run in the top 3, and it's going to be a huge payout for the exact. I think no matter what happens, if you happen to earn money on this race, you did an incredible job, and you're going to make an incredible amount of money, don't you think?
I completely agree. You know what horse is interesting to me that is rough guess 8-1 right now? Taiba.
Yeah. Taiba's the justify of the field. I mean,
Taiba,
look at Taiba, Cap. I mean, you
look
look through everything.
Best buyer 103 and the most recent buyer 102.
Yeah. And you don't see a whole lot of triple-digit buyers out of this field at all. I'm just flipping through my past performances to Taiba here. All right. Justifying 2018, 3 starts prior to the Derby. None of them as a 2-year-old won the Triple Crown. Taiba's made 2 starts. 2. This is a horse. Broke its maiden impressively. Ran in the Santa Anita Derby. Messier is a huge, good-looking horse. Messier ran a good race. Forbidden Kingdom wasn't there. Forbidden Kingdom folded up like a cheap suit out of there. Taiba still raced a little greenly in the race. This horse was all over the place a little bit in the stretch. It was back and forth, weaving a little bit. Still figuring things out. But here's the thing, Cap. All right, we have to take it 2 different ways for this. You have Taiba, the horse, who could run a great race and win the Derby. Then you have this horse used to be Bob Baffert trained by the same owner who had Medina Spirit last year. Imagine what the stories are going to be, Cap, what the news is going to be if Taiba were to win. How much of it's going to be the horse? How much of it's going to be the connections and the fact that this horse used to be with Bob Baffert?
It's wow, that's a really, really good question. As you look at the field, first of all, what's the weather prognosticator saying? I know we're 9 days out, but what are they saying?
I'm going to look. I'm looking right now. It's the beauty of modern technology, Cap, because that could make a difference. And you're right about that. I mean, you never know. Here, let's see what they have. We're talking, all right, 9 days out. They are saying right now 68 and partly cloudy. So fast track.
Perfect conditions.
Perfect conditions.
Not going to be too warm for the horses, not too warm for the jocks, and dry and fast.
Yeah. So here's what you run into, Cap, and we talked about this before. The paddock at Churchill Downs is small.
I was stunned when I went there.
Very small. They just announced, by the way, that they're doing like a $200 million renovation to that paddock. And I'm sure it's for races like this. Make it bigger, make it wider, make it a little bit easier. But right now, it's small. It's compact. It gets loud. It gets busy. And then the horses have to walk through a darker tunnel into the bright lights again, and 100,000 fans who are all roaring and cheering and singing My Old Kentucky Home. It could affect the horse. Lightly raced horses like Tabia could be a factor. Lightly raced horses who haven't raced at venues that may have had as big of a crowds may be a little bit more affected by this. That's where a horse like Cyberknife, who raced in front of 70,000 at Oaklawn, might be in with a little bit more of a shot. But you never know.
I've got a question for you. So yes. Bill Belichick, for example, there's other coaches that have done this.
Yeah.
Bill Belichick would pipe in super loud music and crowd noise so that Tom Brady would get under center in practice and he couldn't hear the play calls in his headset, and his receivers couldn't, so they had to work on sight adjustment.
Yeah.
Do they do that all with a horse where they crank up crowd noise, take him through the dark tunnel somewhere so that he's done it before?
Here's what they're going to do. And it's not going to be every trainer. I can guarantee you Steve Asmussen is going to do this with Epicenter. Oaks Day, the day before the Derby, I'll bet you at some point they walk that horse over, and there'll be some others that will come over with horses for other races, walk through that tunnel, walk into the paddock, and school in the paddock. Make circles around the paddock, try to simulate it as much as possible. Go into that saddling stall, stand there for a while because you're going to have a huge crowd for Oaks Day too,
Yep.
and then walk the horse back out. I've watched Steve Asmussen do this time and again at Oaklawn Park because their stake races they saddle in the infield, whereas every other race they saddle down in the paddock underground. And he's the man who will walk it over and do that. So it wouldn't surprise me if some horses are doing that on Oaks Day just to try to simulate it, because you're right, it's a huge factor. Horses races can be done before they even get into the starting gate, and with a race like this, anything can happen. We saw a couple years ago one of the Baffert horses flipped in the paddock and it was done, scratched right there.
Crazy stuff can happen when you have a crowd and the noise and the pageantry of what the Kentucky Derby Day is all about. As you go through the most recent buyers, you have all the workout times that you sent me as well.
Yeah.
The only horses in the race that their most recent race was a triple-digit buyer, there's only 2 of them. Epicenter, a 102, and Taiba, a 102.
Yeah.
And the best buyer speed figure for their life, Epicenter, a 102, Taiba, a 103, and Messier, a 103. That's it.
Yeah. And look at the running style for all of them. Very similar running styles. On the lead or close to the lead. There's really, to me, there's one committed front runner in this race, and it's early voting. And early voting, they don't even know yet if they're going to run in the race. They've been back and forth. They've been on the fence. That's one of the only ones that's committed to the front end. But Epicenter last race rated just off the pace. Taiba rated just off the pace. Messier rated just off the pace. A race like this, Cap, on Monday, it's going to be huge, the post draw. If you're a speed horse stuck in 1, 2, 3, or 4, you're in a world of hurt in there. And if you're on the outside in 2019, 18, you have no choice but to go from there. But the post draw could make or break this race because of the lack of speed in here and who may or may not make the front end.
Okay, so if you're going to bet Taiba,
yep,
what are you begging for? Please let me get one of those posts.
Anywhere between 10 and 14. And they used to say, now Churchill Downs, and here, this is an important note, Kat. Churchill Downs used to have the auxiliary gate.
Correct. Now they have
the one gate, the 1 through 14, and then the other gate. And because of the auxiliary gate, there was a bigger gap in between where they had to connect the gates. And that was a huge advantage. Horses immediately wanted to go to those 2 spots of the gate. They've since purchased a 20-horse starting gate. So you don't have that gap anymore. Right. So because of that, it changes things a little bit here because it's a little bit tighter. Again, races can be made or broken at the start. But if you find that horse that can wing it out of there, look back to Warrenblum, an Illinois Derby winner. He was the horse that made the top ahead of everybody else and never looked back. I think this is a race that could be like that. That's how I'm going to play the race. I can tell you that right now.
I can also tell you that doing a little homework in Japan versus the United States, in Japan, the gates just open. The bell and the gate are simultaneous.
Yep.
Here, it's bell,
bing. Yeah.
And it throws off horses from Japan.
And that's interesting because the Japanese horse is a horse, Cap, that has a shot. And not often would you say that. Crown Pride. All right, here, first off, go back to Dubai World Cup this year. Japanese horses were dominant. Japanese horses won 5 of these races, and these were multi-million-dollar races. Crown Pride, the Japanese horse, won the UAE Derby. We have both talked about a Baffert horse that was in there. There's some other horses that were in there. Crown Pride was overlooked. But now this horse has come to Churchill Downs. The training techniques are a little bit weird for Crown Pride. This horse worked on the 24th. Right, worked a half mile in 49-1 on a fast track. That's a pretty good work. Okay, 3 days later, the horse is back out there, Cap, working again in 46-2, which is flying. That was the best of 30. And Crown Pride's a horse that could be forwardly placed. It's starting to become a little bit of a buzz horse right now, though, Cap, which may drop the odds. If Crown Pride, if I saw 20-1, I'd probably consider the horse. I think you're going to see more like 10 or 12-1.
Right now, though, the projection is 50.
I'd be on it. But the workout buzz is what's going to change the odds so much on these horses. I saw this morning in the Daily Racing Form, they said, aside from, I think it was Zandon they were talking about, Crown Pride is like the most talked about horse right now for the buzz on the backside, for how a horse looks, how a horse is working, and how a horse is coming into the race. So we'll see what happens. We'll see how that affects odds. And again, Crown Pride might get the one hole and it's over. And then you have to toss the horse out.
What Mind That Bird? What was the number of that horse? Where did it come from?
Man, you are asking me some incredible questions. I'm going to guess, and then I'm going to look it up. I'm going to say post 11, but I'm going to look it up and see.
I'm looking myself right now. Mind That Bird. Whew.
No, he was the 8.
Yeah, the 8.
He was the 8, and he came right up the rail.
Yeah, I went back. I still have it open on my computer. I went back and watched that race again. The patience that Calvin Burrell showed to just stay, bam, here I come, was unbelievable.
And it's hard to do because so often everybody says, oh, well, you got buried on the inside. Here's the thing, though, with Mind That Bird, he had absolutely nothing to lose, Cap. He was 50-1. Nobody thought anything of him, so nobody even considered him. And you'll see riders looking around, peeking under their shoulder, saying, who do I have to look for? Who do I have to look for? And you had Giacomo swoop the field and circle the field to win at a massive price. Mind That Bird come up the fence. Aside from that, everybody else is always kind of close to the pace. But you're right. The route kind of seems to be to get off and go around. And again, when you're a speed horse, you can kind of dictate your position on the racetrack, save that ground the whole way around. The less ground you have to travel, the better for the horses, huh?
No question about it. So again, looking at the speed figures, I mean, Un Ojo 84 is the best that horse has ever run, and its last race was a 71.
No shot. That's the only horse I can never make a case for to win the Derby. I could make a case for the other 19 that get into the gate, Cap.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking here. Everyone else is basically somewhere in the 90s. Classic Causeway is at 90 best, 80 last race, had some issues. Tawny Port is 89 last, 90 best. Barber Roads in the high 80s. Un Ojo is the only one that you look at and go, you got no chance. Right. And then the horse will go out and win it 90-1.
And the horse better be 90-1. But yes, you are right, Cap. All right, so let me ask you before we sign off for this week, because next week we're going to be super in depth with all of this.
Yep.
If you were to look right now today, and I would give you 3 horses and said there's 3 horses that if you get the perfect post positions for, you would look to put money on, who would your 3 be that you're looking to right now?
For sure, Taiba.
Okay.
100%. White Abario.
Okay.
Would be 2, and probably, don't ask me why, but I got a feeling, Cyberknife.
Interesting. I like that. And I like Cyberknife. Cyberknife's one of the few horses that work 3/4 of a mile, which I prefer, especially when you're getting ready for a 1.25 mile race. I like Cyberknife because, like I mentioned, this horse ran in front of 70,000 people already. So Cyberknife has handled a big crowd.
How about you? I'll give you the same question.
All right. Messier, because I think Messier could make the top in there and get the right trip. I worry about Taiba with only 2 races because that's a whole lot to ask him. I'm with you on Cyberknife, which is a good thing. I'm happy about that. And then the other one I'm throwing in there is the Japanese horse. I'm throwing Crown Pride in there right now. Now, everything could change with post positions here, Cap. Everything could change if you get a scratch. Because here's the thing. If early voting comes out, say Classic Causeway, say they change their minds, those are 2 possible pace horses. And again, in a race without a whole lot of pace, changes the complexion of this field here. But a whole lot can change. But Cap, here's what's crazy. All right. we're giving away the possibility for a 6-figure earnings at Hawthorne. This Derby Pick 10 challenge. If anybody hits us, and I'll put together my top 10 too. Best of luck to you, man.
I've been telling a lot of friends of mine, dude, just sign up.
Yes, it's free.
$100,000 prize if you can pick it 1 to 10. Can you imagine if A, you did it, and B, you didn't bet it?
You're right. You better bet win, exacta, try, super. And even if you don't have to bet a whole lot for it, but here's the thing. You go to the website, it's online, it's free. If you do it, it's 100,000, Cap. And people say, yes, it's tough. Of course it's tough. But at least there is some logic, of course, to picking horses because you're looking at pace complexion. You're looking at how things may unfold in that. You never know. Anything may happen, my friend.
I cannot wait to be at my computer early that morning on my Club Hawthorne account and going, all right, I'm playing that. I'm playing that. I'm playing that. It still reminds me of the Belmont won by Tonalist when 5 minutes before the race, I hadn't made a play.
Yeah.
Not a play.
All right.
And my executive producer, Ryan McGuffey, who you know, by the way, you will be in next Thursday on Unfiltered on NBC Sports Chicago. Ryan called me, goes, who'd you play? I'm like, I'm going to cheer for California Chrome. There's no value, so I'm just going to watch. You gamble every race. Are you crazy? I said, yeah, I mean, if I was going to play it, I know what I'd play. I think it was, if I remember right, it was 11, 4, 3, and something. He's like, dude, you got to play it. I'm like, all right. I had $160 into the race, and I walked out with a $34,000 win.
That's a beautiful thing, my friend.
And
that's the way to do it. And that's what this Derby can provide. So you definitely want to jump in. And here's the thing. Everybody always asks, who do you like? Who do you like? I mean, I'm going to tell people who my picks are going up to the Derby, of course. I said, unless you tell me un ojo, I'm not going to try to talk you off of any horse in the race. Because anybody else, I think, Cap, can be in the mix.
I am so excited for Derby Day. It's one of my favorite days of the year. I hope the weather's nice so I can just watch. I don't have to deal with slop, any of it, and then sit on my back deck and just let's go.
It's going to be awesome, Cap. I'm ready for it. They draw the race on Monday, so that's the beautiful thing. They draw it early. Tons of time to handicap the race, get ready for the Kentucky Derby, get prepared, get your numbers together. So, Cap, we're going to get together next week. In-depth look at the Derby. We're going to look at our top horses, how we're going to play the race, our long shot play of the race. We'll see if we can make some money, my friend. How's that sound?
Sounds great. And then you are going to come from doing this show to NBC Sports Chicago, and you will be our featured handicapping guest on Unfiltered next Thursday. I'm looking forward to that.
I love it, man. No pressure. I'm looking forward to it, too. Anytime we can talk about racing is a beautiful thing, my friend. Good luck. Have a good weekend. And, hey, Derby time next week. Sound good?
Look forward to it. You're the man, Jimmy.
You got it. We'll see you guys all next week.
See you next week.